Ahoy there and hello! Welcome to this review on Treasure Island, released in July 19th, 1950. And it is the first one to be distributed by RKO Walt Disney British Productions. Yep, and this is Walt Disney's first all live action feature, not counting animation like Song of the South and So Dear to My Heart. Okay, here we go. Well, set in the West Coast England in 1765, Jim Hawkins was top of this bar, and then all of a sudden Black Dog came about, and then along came Billy Bones, and all of a sudden he drank a rum, and then Billy Bones had a terrible scar across his face, and then all of a sudden he died, and then all the pirates returned to the inn, and Sir and the character was down with the fleet with men on horseback. Yep, and then 10 days passed, Jim arrived at Bristol Dock with Dr. Livesey and meet up with the Squire, and he then introduces the man who warned the cook named Long John Silver, played by Robert Newton. Also, Jim Hawkins, played by Bobby Driscoll, who also played Johnny in Song of the South, and Jeremiah in So Dear to My Heart. Yep. And he turned around to see Black Dog, and he cried out for someone to capture him, and became Buccaneers running, and Jim in the pursuit. Yep. Some of the minutes later, Silver, Jim, and Silver's former crewmates arrived in the preparation of the voyage. Yep, and Livesey and Sterner Haller discerned the validity of the royal treasure hunt, and later swears the real road of the treasure. But Livesey asked the captain if he's worried about the immunity, and no one answers no, and he toasts the voyage at the two of the lead of the Twilight dubs in the conduct right of the English. Yep. Alright. Later, Silver takes Jim and the something arrow and less grumpy and let Plum down, and then remarks the rum cooking. And all of a sudden, in the translation of that night, there was a storm, and Silver invites Miss Arrow and eats one plum duff. Time passes, Jim sees talking to Hunter and his helm out within sight land, and Hunter mentions that when he left off in the ratio of the boiled beans and salted pork, and his last apple will be eaten into the silver land. Man discusses what to be done, and his 9 lives against the mountaineers. Yep. Upon which Silver makes up angry, and Jim soon releases him, and boy jumps off the boat and runs to the jungle. After ending the pursuit of the mountaineer, Jim and this becomes befriends Ben Gunn and one Flint crew in the Maroon on the Island 5 years, and Jim tells us about the immunity, and Ben tells us about the boat, how they get to hypnotize. Yep. Once at Stockdale, Jim comments of the preparing of the coming of the battle, which Silver appears outside of the flag truce. Small also him and Silver gets terms and Lure led him in exchange for the map. And all of a sudden, Jim sneaks up with the knife for the bank gun used with the boat, and the ship, and once you cut an anchor up and climbs on aboard. He sneaks by with Israel hands, and then runs him over and stabs him on the chest, and then Jim arrives back on the island, and then all of a sudden he collapses, and then reveals blood poisoning, and then Dr. Livesey comes to the island, just fixed up Jim Hawkins, and then they had a battle against in the sandy reef. The sandy Inferno, and then all of a sudden, they went back on the boat, and then they dressed up in pirates outfits. Yep, and Silver went into the sandy island, and then all of a sudden, Silver went off on the boat, and that's the end of the movie. So the film was re-released in 1975, but in cut way, like in the original home video would do later in the original home video releases. Yep, so that's this review done. So next review we're going to review is Alice in Wonderland, so stay tuned for that.